Crystia!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. We have seen our fair share of brainwashing, if we can call it that, to no extent when it comes to the pandemic, when it comes to we're all in this together, everybody do your part. We've heard it all before. The reason I'm bringing that up is what's going on in Canada right now is drawing not only massive tensions between us and our friends in the United States, but it's also, as I stated yesterday, one big psyop. And I wanted to show today how this is going to affect our next election. As Pierre's numbers, again, I'm still waiting to see results after his rally yesterday to see how that's affected polls, what that means for Pierre Poilievre. But what I'm worried about here and what I'm seeing across social media, because let's be honest, people decide these votes, not the governments. And it surprises me. I'm not going to lie. It shocks me. Is just how easily manipulated after the pandemic people still are. Let's take a look at what's going on here. I'm going to focus on a post by my dear friend Tamara Leach. This person loves our country more than anything. For the past 9 years, you've taken every opportunity to try and beat Canadian pride out of this great country. Up until about 5 minutes ago, you've continued to shame, vilify, belittle, and accuse us of being terrible, shameful people. You flew our flag at half-mast for 6 months to drive your point home. Real leaders promote unity and patriotism to all their people. Ideologically motivated authoritarian extremist politicians trot it out only when it suits their purpose. Your sudden, newfound fake patriotism is truly indicative of how stupid you think we are, and how stupid we're showing Canada we actually are. How easily manipulated. Look at this. This infamous Canada-US hockey game yesterday. Justin Trudeau tweeting out, "Damn proud of this country." Yeah, because they're taking the bait. They're following in. Look, I love my country. I love my flag. What's happened here, and the reason I want to talk about this, is the amount of people yesterday that I seen saying, "Oh, I've got my flags out. It's Flag Day. The news told me to put my flags out for Flag Day." This is the same as people that told you during the pandemic that you're dirty, that you shouldn't come around them, that get the treatment or get lost. They're showing you with the Canadian flag that they're brainwashed. Those who wanted to wave the Canadian flag up until this year were told it's a racist symbol, it's misogynistic, it supports uprisings, we'll say. And we're going to get to a clip of that to prove that and bring it home. The fake patriotism that Tamara talks about and vilifying us as shameful people, it comes up in a clip later on. And people saying, "Derek, don't disparage the Canadian flag." I am not. Keep in mind, this is the same party that changed our national anthem for virtue signaling. Look over here, the Liberal page, or Rachel over with the Liberals. "Thank you, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. You've served us well, and you'll be missed. Go Canada." Everybody's buying into this Team Canada brand. The whole "we're all in this together." What you have to realize that we go into our next election, our next federal election, the reason Pierre is dropping in polls, the reason that he's losing points, while he's still poised to take a majority. I don't want to downplay that. But what this is doing is all the people who have TDS or Trump derangement syndrome will be prepared to forgive the Liberal government of all of their trespasses, of all of their scandals, of all of their theft, in order to fight Donald Trump. I've said it before with Doug Ford's campaign, it's nothing more than an easy win to use Donald Trump as a weapon. Look at this picture of Mark Carney at the game. That sneering Grinch face that he's got. The bigger contest is still to come. Sovereignty, economy, rights, environment, the big one there, and opportunities to all Canadians to thrive. That's what we fight for. Globalist. This man should not be wearing a Canadian jersey. He doesn't even live in Canada. He hasn't lived here for 11 years. He holds 3 passports. He doesn't give a shit about this country. Why is he smiling and putting on a Canadian jersey? I got sour news for this guy. Just because you're born in Canada doesn't make you Canadian. You either love your country or you hate it. And so far you're showing me with your globalist behavior, you just want to decimate this country and help your globalist pals. When we get to shaming Canadians, take a look at what happened outside of Pierre Poilievre's rally yesterday. Mass Immigration Minister Mark Miller brings Timbits in stunt in front of Pierre Poilievre's rally in Ottawa today. This was a slap at the Freedom Convoy. And he makes that point very clear. Now, good old Ezra Levant stands up and actually says how it is. Keep in mind, this is the guy who's allowing our country to be overtaken, the guy who left our borders open. He's the one to blame for what's going on right now. Our government are the ones to blame for what's happening in our country with Donald Trump right now. Not the people, not Donald Trump. The government that allowed this to happen. Listen to this disgusting rhetoric as Mark Miller thinks he's being funny.
But I brought you guys, I brought Pierre some donuts today, just like he was bringing to the Freedom Convoy when he was watching them illegally occupy the Hill. But I didn't know if you guys will get locked out, so I got some. You probably can't accept donuts, so I'll give. It's highly unpatriotic. Just bail out.
Saying we can just accept bailouts. He said, did you hear Mark Miller say it's highly unpatriotic to not accept my Timbits? But he says I'm offering them like Pierre Poilievre did when people were. I don't want to misquote him. I don't want to misquote him. Let's get to that again.
But I brought you guys. I brought Pierre some donuts today, just like he was bringing to the Freedom Convoy when he was watching them illegally occupy the Hill. But
legally occupying the Hill. They were standing up for actual Canadians. They were waving our flag with mass pride. Which, by the way, the anniversary of them using the Emergency Act just passed. This smug bastard approaches. Look at this smile on his face. He knows what he's doing. The left can't meme, first of all. This is a terrible troll. But just listen to what real sense reporters have to say to him.
I didn't know if you guys will get locked out, so I got some. You probably can't accept donuts, so I'll give. It's highly unpatriotic. Just bail out. Just media bail out. Look, I just showed up to make sure that the flags were the right side up. The last time I seen Pierre cheering this hard, the flags were all upside down. And he was cheering for people that were pissing on Canada, and that's what Pierre's doing. You can't.
He says the last time I seen them wearing the flags, they were upside down, and he was cheering for people that were pissing on Canada. Says the guy who's been pissing on this country for the last decade, along with his party, virtue signaling, stealing our money. Pissing on Canada? Really, Mark? While you've left our borders open, while you've allowed our country to be taken over, while you've ran it into the ground, while you guys have systematically broken our country, that's the stance you take with this smile and grin on your face? This is what I'm talking about yesterday with a psyop. It's all, he says, I just want to make sure the flags are the right way, everybody, so everybody jumps on our branding, our anti-Trump rhetoric, and backs us in the election. The reason I want to bring this up, when you look at the last election, this is the result map. And this is what got Justin Trudeau a minority government. Now, keep in mind, this is a 2021 map. Here it is compared with 2019. Now, keep in mind, a majority and minority government were formed with these electoral maps. Do you guys see a massive difference between these maps? For a minority and a majority government? This is the one thing, here, I'll scroll up a little. This is the one thing I keep talking about when I'm saying that a small percentage of the country is going to decide who's at bat. And what you're talking about with Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre is that they don't have to focus on this entire country. What they have to focus on is right down here. If you look at Ontario, now keep in mind, I'm not bashing anybody who lives in these provinces, by the way. What I'm talking about is statistically what we have to worry about and where their strategies lie going into the next election. Ontario last election had a blue and orange split. Now, with Jagmeet Singh's numbers tanking, it's more likely that the majority of Ontario here is going to go blue. That's great. Down here near Sault Ste. Marie, that typically votes Liberal, there's speculation there again, statistically, that it's going to go Conservative. What you have to worry about is down here in this lower red part. This is where the majority of Canadians, believe it or not, live. This red and blue split down here. This is a per capita basis and where the majority of seats are decided. This little bit of red and this red over here in Quebec near the major cities is what voted in Justin Trudeau to a minority government in the last election, also giving him a majority, while the lower south end of Ontario went Conservative. The Conservatives need these red ridings, these 4 red ridings that are sitting right over here. It also doesn't help that Newfoundland jumped on board. This is what resulted. This little pocket down here is what decides who's in charge in the House of Commons. So Mark Carney doesn't have to worry about the rest of Canada. He doesn't have to worry about Pierre getting half of Ontario. He doesn't have to worry about Pierre getting a larger portion of Manitoba. He doesn't have to even worry about over here in Vancouver where the Liberals won. Again, this will probably go either orange or blue in the next election. I'm hoping on blue. But when you look over here, again, this is what decides who's in charge. So all Mark Carney has to focus on is brainwashing this individual of people. The reason that's so important, ladies and gentlemen, the reason that matters here is because that region of the world, and I'm really hoping people can understand what I'm saying here, that I'm not picking on the people that live there, but you can't argue that statistically a vast majority of people that sided during pandemic lockdowns, that sided with woke rhetoric, that said it's okay to lock ourselves up, it's okay to force things on people that don't want them, it's okay to fire people, to take their jobs. I've shown clips and shots of advertising currently going on in Toronto saying, hey, buy Black Diamond cheese strings. They're 100% Canadian with 0% American cheese in them. They've got tags all over their food products. The brainwashing has begun. They're already poisoning the minds of these people that still watch mainstream media, that are easily susceptible to this kind of behavior, to this psyop, to believe that this is all the cause of Donald Trump. It has nothing to do with those who have put us in this situation. You can already see here people tweeting out, like Jack Dan, good friend of the channel, Canada has a serious brainwashing problem, all done by Canadian mainstream media and the federal government. We're in serious trouble here. We couldn't agree more. This is a turning point. It's a pivoting point for us, and the Canadian government is using the Canadian flag, our flag, as a weapon to turn people against the Americans, to turn people against Donald Trump, to say that that somehow affects us moving forward. Their behavior is what's affected us. If we had a responsible government in place that looked after our border to begin with, we wouldn't be in this position to begin with. We wouldn't be talking about this. Fix the border. It's affecting us to the point where you've even got Americans tweeting out, Donald Trump has made Canadians, our closest ally, boo the U.S. national anthem, the norm. Is this the respect he said the world would have for us once he was elected? I want all my American viewers to know this has nothing to do with Canadians. We do not speak for the rest of the country, or we don't let them speak for the rest of us, I should say. These are brainwashed sheep that give in to cheesy, phony government rhetoric, that believe anything the government tells them. These are the Democrats. These are the corrupt Democrat voters. The Trump derangement syndrome loonies that run the country that are booing the U.S. national anthem. These are the purple-haired land whales that dress up like women and say, I want to use a girl's bathroom. You've even got a mass bunch of people virtue signaling saying, well, I canceled my trip to the United States because I don't want to support America. What you have to realize is that those are people virtue signaling once again. There's probably a mass amount of people that have canceled their trips. I don't disparage that, but do you know why they've canceled their trips? Look at this. This is why. They can't afford to go to the United States anymore. So instead of blaming their government, instead of saying, I really wish our government would have got their act together, they're blaming or virtue signaling alongside Justin Trudeau by saying, oh, we don't want to support American. We'll stay home. It's because you can't afford to go. It has nothing to do with anything other than this massive psyop that's going on. I guess what I'm mostly concerned about when I make this video is what our government is doing to our flag, what our government is doing to our unity, our nationality, our identity, by using people as a tool to prop up their dick measuring contest with the United States. I've said many times over, and you know, even Donald Trump, Justin Trudeau, they all mention this invisible line that borders along Canada and United States. A boundary line. As you go over that boundary, we're not all that different. We have the same winters. We have the same people. A lot of us have the same beliefs for the most part. All of us love our countries. And what Justin Trudeau and the Liberals are doing right here, right now, is a scary turning point for Canada. I'm curious, Pierre Poilievre was at the same hockey game with his family. I'm curious if he's going to issue a statement as to what he believes about people booing the national anthem, since he talks about Canada first. I'd really like to get his take. And I'm scared about how easily manipulated people are going to be headed into the next election, that we could realistically see anytime within the next 6 weeks to a year and a half. It's anybody's guess right now. Let me know what you think down below. If you believe this whole sudden found patriotism is another form of brainwashing, or if you think I'm out of line, if you think that I'm completely off base, then chew me up in the comments. Feel free. Let me know your thoughts down below. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, folks. Censorship's coming back in a big way. We want to make sure that we continue to grow our audience here. Leave a thumbs up and a comment down below as well. It helps more than you honestly could ever understand, especially at times like these. Click your bell for notifications. Join me live this Wednesday for Unhinged Fringe, my new weekly live streaming show, as well as Friday Night Fringe, my regular live streaming show, both starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central every week here on the channel. Friday nights, I'm joined by the beautiful Mrs. Fringe as we go over everything that happened this week in politics, everything coming up in the week ahead, as well as some back and forth within our community. But most importantly, I look forward to sitting in on those streams as well as Mrs. Fringe to hear what you have to say each and every week outside of making these videos, to get your take on what's happening in the country. I look forward to seeing you there Wednesday as well as Friday, again starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central here on the channel. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.